in life we can have times where we are focused. You all know those moments when you're focused? Does everybody here know moments when you're focused? Of course, we have the capacity to be focused. We're all different in a million ways, but we all have the capacity to be focused. We have those moments. We can also be unfocused. Do we know those moments?
Definitely.
Yes, we know those moments. The things that we experience and the way we experience life can be effortful. You know, when you're making an effort to get something done, and it can be effort what? Effortless. Okay? Let's just explore this for a moment. If you're unfocused, we can say scattered, but you can come up with your own word. If we're unfocused, in an effortless sort of way, what's likely to be your state of mind?
All over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah.
So what might we call that? What's our state of mind?
Wandering.
Wandering. Could be mind wandering. Okay, and there's many, many aspects of that. But mind wandering is a good way to sort of give us a name for now. If you're unfocused, but it's effortful, what's the feeling state of that moment?
Not good.
Not good. How would it feel to be like, you're making an effort and you just can't get frustration? Now, if you're making an effort and you're focused, what are you?
In the flow, in the soul.
Mindful.
Well, maybe. Oh, maybe. That's interesting. Maybe. You said flow, mindful. If we had Dola here, the tennis player, and she were talking about being in that real great state of tennis, where she's probably like, it sounded like she was like pretty good at what she was doing before it sort of lost a little bit of its joyfulness for her. She was just sort of in the game. Do you think she was expending a lot of effort?
No, effortless. Yeah.
Sort of effortless,
Yeah.
right. So it's interesting. So maybe this is where flow resides. But regardless, if you are in a focused state and you're working hard to achieve that focused state, we could call that concentration. You're concentrating, right? You're deliberately concentrating. And then we have this very interesting place. And I would say that this takes a little bit of work. It could be very satisfying, to be sure. Very satisfying, very effective. Probably takes a little work. This doesn't take much work at all, but we're not really anywhere in particular, for better or for worse. We could say this could be daydreaming, and that might be a little different. That's why we're not really judging so much these states, or presuming. And then here, we're focused, but it's effortless.
Sweet spot.
It's a sweet spot. It's sort of like, well, it's a sweet spot for this state. There's probably a sweet spot for a concentrated state too, right? So, I mean, so it's interesting. But this is a place that tends to seem like it's a good place to get to. A cat, you know, I don't know if you all have cats, but I saw one this morning, this sweet little, very little kitten in the parking lot. But you know, if you think of a cat in a home or somewhere, resting, it's sort of like the breath is pretty mellow. It's not asleep, it's alert. So it's alert, it's focused. I'm of course putting this into the cat's experience for the sake of this. I have no idea what the cat's experience is. It's focused, it's alert. But it's not trying to be alert, right? It's just, and then if a mouse comes along and that's what it's after, it's like boom, right? Which is different than being like this, right? If you're the cat, now this is more this, right? Focused, but effortful. What is it about my perspective that's compromised or in some way different than if I'm here and the mouse is over there, I'm probably going to miss it, right? Even though it's technically in my line of sight, so to speak. Okay, so part of what we're exploring, and part of what I'm interested in having us get a sense of today and next week, at least as a theory for you to explore for yourself, is that when we practice mindfulness, And these straddle each other. So it's not like when you sit and lower, close your eyes and pay attention to your breath, it's not like that's going to be a bit of focus with effort, because you're learning that, and that's how it starts. But that's not necessarily where it goes, and it doesn't have to take a long time to get over here. Because we all know these moments where it's focused and effortful, right? Who can comment on a time in your life or something that you do on a basis from now and again or have in the past, where you're sort of effortless, and we could say flow, we could say it's a meditative state. What would some of those be that you just do naturally?
When I read the paper, I find I'm very focused, and like it's not like reading for school where I'm trying to take notes and like
Very
annotate
nice.
it. It's just reading for enjoyment and
Right.
edification. I guess.
Right? It's like you're not going to finish the paper and go, I'm exhausted, I just got through that paper. Now if you finish, like you have to read this paper, and I mean, that would be really somewhat exhausting. And this takes up about 20%, burns about 20% of the energy that the body consumes. 20%. That's a lot of the use of glucose and the fuel that this body runs on. But that's a great example. That's right here. And that would probably be somewhat akin to a flow type state, right? You're just there. Right? You're just there. And it's very, okay, good. I'm speaking generalities here. What other experiences do you already know from your own experience, or without even trying, you have? Yes?
Brushing my teeth in the morning.
Well, that's interesting. You must really love to brush your teeth. You know, when I have that thing, it's like 2 minutes, you know, beep, beep, but it's broken. How long has it been? You know, there's a little frustration there. My mind's certainly wandering. But good. Okay, so for you,
Related to that for me, yeah.
okay.
In a zone.
Now, well, here's the thing to pay attention to, because this is wonderful. You've identified that state, and you too, Mike, you've identified that. Do you think this happens when you're in that zone? Do you think you're aware that it's happening? Well, now become more aware, okay? And see how it makes the experience an even different kind of experience, because it might be that you're sort of bouncing in between these two states. You're sort of here, and then your mind wanders. This is to Miguel's comment about, you know, being distracted by something, whether, in that case, maybe something that paradoxically is what we're paying attention to, but sort of being distracted, or mind wandering, or however it is that one might play that out. Very nice. Excellent.
You could say if you're on a really, really good date.
Huh?
You know, if you're on a really, really good date.
A really good date.
Having a
Yes.
really good conversation.
Yes, a
And your
connection.
attention is completely there, you don't want to be anywhere else.
Correct.
You're just-
Connection, that sort of very easeful connection, social connection. And of course, if you're on the first date or something, or you're trying to get some, then it's probably going to be a bit like this. You're focused, and it's a little bit effortful, right? And if it's a boring first date, you're probably going to be down here with your mind wandering, right? And if you're really wishing you weren't there, it's going to be frustrating, right? So we sort of, but part of what we're exploring here is that these are the states of mind, the accompanying states of body that we experience, and there might be an interesting way that we're just swimming around these. And that's sort of without necessarily bringing this classroom toolkit, if you will, to bear. Wouldn't it be nice to be a little bit more where we want to be, and when we're in places that we don't want to be, we are aware of it, or when I say don't want to be, that aren't as useful, aren't as skillful, aren't as helpful, aren't as whatever it is, to at least have more say in the ability to realize it and to do something